We understand that the Supreme Court is saying that they're going to have a floor test tomorrow itself. That's in, of course, the Karnataka Legislative Assembly. This will, of course, be with the objective of essentially assessing what sort of support do both factions of the disputed parties have. That's, of course, for BJP, who will have to prove that they do have the requisite numbers to form government in Karnataka. So there's essentially going to be a floor test for that. And then, of course, you have on the other side the post-poll alliance between Congress as well as JDS, who is saying that they naturally do have the majority if you, of course, consider both the parties. So the Supreme Court is in fact saying that the floor test should be conducted as early as tomorrow itself. It's something that will determine who would be the next chief minister, because naturally the more the numbers, the more the MLA support that each party has, that's the party that would be able to form the government. For now, of course, do remember the governor had given the mandate to the party which has single-handedly been able to be the best performing party in the Karnataka elections. That, of course, was BJP. That's what the Supreme Court, this is what, of course, the Congress and JDS went to the Supreme Court to contest against, because there were other states where, despite Congress being the single largest party, they could not form the government in those states. And we are, in fact, even seeing essentially protests coming in from the Congress party in those states. The Supreme Court as well refused to stay Yediyurappa's swearing-in ceremony in Karnataka, and now, of course, progressing with the case that is going on in the Supreme Court. They are saying that it's better to have the floor test tomorrow itself. So it's going to essentially mean that by tomorrow, I guess, hopefully, the drama will come to an end, and based on, of course, what sort of supports, how many MLAs are supporting each party, there's going to be a decision on who would be making the new government in the state of Karnataka. Justice Sikri believes that practical solutions are better than legalities. So this is something that will, of course, provide a clear-cut solution for that. Remember, I'll just reiterate once again for our viewers, BJP was the sole performing party. Okay, Supriya Srinath is with us right now on the very same story. Supriya, tomorrow itself, there's going to be a floor test in the Legislative Assembly.
So just as a caveat before we go anything big with this story is that this is an observation that the Supreme Court is making. This is one of the proposals that they're putting forward. But yes, the court does realize there's an urgency to arrive at a decision as far as who has numbers in Karnataka, and which is why they've proposed that maybe it is good to have the floor test as early as tomorrow itself. They believe that this is absolutely a numbers game. Justice Sikri has been quoted as saying that this is, after all, a numbers game. A practical solution is warranted, and why not have the floor test tomorrow itself? The Supreme Court does realize that there's a 15-day window that the governor has given the BJP to prove a majority, and that window could be exploited for various purposes, whether it's horse trading, whether it's MLAs defecting and all of that, and which is why the Supreme Court believes, at this stage we're given to understand, the Supreme Court believes that the earlier there is a number to government formation, the better it will serve democracy and the mandate that needs to be respected, and which is why the Supreme Court is proposing at this moment that it is better to have the test tomorrow. But of course, there will be a final order. Remember, these are hearings that are going on. Mukul Rohatgi has represented Yediyurappa. He's presented Yediyurappa's letter to the letter that he had given to the governor to the court. Of course, this letter does not have names of MLAs. That is what the court had wanted. The court wanted to know what sort of names, what sort of support does Yediyurappa has. It does not have name of MLAs just yet. So this is a letter that has been given. The Congress party, represented by Abhishek Manu Singhvi, has its top legal eagles, Kapil Sibal, P. Chidambaram, and of course Ramjit Malani was also one of the petitioners away from the Congress party. All are party to this case. But right now, this is an observation. Things could very well go in this direction, because the court is very certain. There is a sense of urgency. There is a sense of doing it now rather than lingering on for 15 days or a week or 10 days. There is a sense of urgency. My own sense is we'll perhaps go in this direction, but this is not the final order, just for the benefit of our viewers.
Okay, thanks a lot, Supriya, for that. But what are some other likely scenarios that could play out? Of course, this is one of the suggestions made by the Supreme Court at this point of time. But since being somebody who has been looking at the story very closely, what could be, what are the other likely scenarios that could play out?
I can tell you one thing very frankly, that I think the best bet that the Congress and the JDS really have at this stage is to get the time reduced for the floor test. I don't think the Supreme Court would want to cancel Mr. Yediyurappa's swearing in or declare it null and void. He's been sworn in as the Chief Minister. He has to be given time to prove his majority. The court, just like the rest of us believe, he doesn't need 15 days. He either has the numbers or he doesn't, because 104 has to get to 113. Where will those 9 MLAs come from is the basic moot question of this entire argument, entire controversy, and we all know how that happens. It's happened when the Congress was on the opposite side. It's now happening when the BJP is on this side. Rampant horse trading has become a reality in Indian politics, and that is exactly what the court wants to avoid. The only scenario, I think the best bet for the Congress party will be to get, for the JDS also will be to get the time period reduced in which majority has to be proven. I don't think the courts are going to go and either put an interjunction or cancel Mr. Yediyurappa's swearing in. I don't think that's happening. That stays. I think the best bet, I think the debate argument is all now on the time period required for a floor test, and that is where arguments are veering towards.
All right, Supriya, thanks for that. And yeah, that's even what the Supreme Court is saying, that ultimately it's just a number game, and of course, at the end of the day, it should be the party with the majority that should be invited to form the government. So sooner than later, proposing a floor test tomorrow itself, that's the latest we're picking up from this.